Looking at the Metacritic ranking of the best games of all time for Insight is like staring into the Necronomicon. I know. But humor me. Browse that list and you'll see over and over crowd pleasers with winning concepts, approachable and highly polished experiences with well trodden mechanics, games for all skill levels, amalgamations of best practices and high production budgets. Almost everything north of a 90 feels like it fits a very predictable mainstream prestige idea of a good game: approachable, empowering, sweeping, immersive. If you're lucky, you'll get a prestige indie or two mixed in with the prestige cinematic open world or wide linear games and the occasional grandfathered in Nintendo franchise. These tend not to be games that particularly challenge the player, and even those that do so in conspicuously cinematic or visually appealing ways. That's the video in video game, I guess. Yet somehow, mixed in with the rest of the top 10 is one of the most cracked control schemes the medium has ever seen, bolted to a game with absolutely no story: Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. And you'll find the rest of its number buddies not too far down the list. Generally, outside of things like advanced combos and fighting games, the controller inputs expected of players in mainstream games are pretty mellow. To demonstrate my point, let me zoom in on the controller overlays in some other people's gameplay videos. Here's a player navigating a ghost house in Super Mario World. Here's another demoing the original Steam controller in Modern Warfare. If you're at all familiar with the genres, you can tell what's going on in the games just from looking at the controller. Here, he's aiming down sights, now firing, there's a reload while positioning. Okay, now this is YouTuber the Thug Pro Hub firing off inputs in Tony Hawk's Underground. It's a lot busier, right? What if I told you that I was only playing this back at half speed and that the real experience looked more like this? Well, nope, just kidding. This one is at half speed. The previous segment was 1/4 speed, and now this is full speed. This is what your poor fingers have to do to make the most of Tony Hawk. And it's not just the controls. The stages are dense with points of interaction, and by its nature as a skateboarding game, it's kind of an arena-based auto-scroller. You can't take it slow, because your skater's neutral tendency is to move forward and even accelerate. It's a lot to wrap your head around. These games passed me by when they were new. I was a few Kevin Bacons removed from skate culture, and all my attention was going to more fantastical media with magical swords and or robots. But if you've ever doubted how big skate culture was back in the day, consider that gamers were putting up with games that had controls this hectic, this technical. That's how powerful the aesthetic and the skating fantasy were. I've been putting out videos every 2 weeks, and for a lot of the games that I've been covering, that has been enough time. Androdunos, Nex Machina, Gravity Circuit, 428 Shibuya Scramble, and so forth. For some of the games I've been covering, like Fantasian, that being a JRPG, I knew it would take a lot more time to get through, and I could compensate for that by starting it further in advance to give myself enough runway. Tony Hawk, though, that caught me off guard. I checked how long to beat before starting. It said about 15 hours for average full playthrough, and I thought, great, not a problem. And 15 hours, to be fair, is enough time if all you're interested in is seeing all the stages, getting through that content. But it is nowhere near enough time to do more than scratch the surface of learning the control scheme, learning to get good at all those inputs, how to combine them and chain them together, learning all of the different stages, and actually getting anywhere near high scores or anywhere remotely in the galaxy of the skill ceiling for this game. I found myself really coming up short in terms of how well I could understand the game by the time I needed to make this video. I wish I'd given myself more time. I do think that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater goes to show the value of a compelling aesthetic concept, in this case, skate culture, to coax people into learning a novel and almost alien control scheme. I wonder if a game as novel and manic on the inputs as Tony Hawk, that went so far out of established norms and was so technically demanding, if that could reach levels of acclaim like this if it had debuted today, 25 years later. And I kinda don't think so. It would find an audience, but that audience would be niche. The landscape surrounding games has just changed so much. So many people looking for movie-like or cozy experiences. So many critics and commentators celebrating or getting hyped for other reasons. And so many games coming out, not enough time to dedicate to each. We're seeing games evolve like predators, attempting to capture more and more player time in a crowded market and even sync to competing with TikTok. Daily or weekly login bonuses, FOMO, progression mechanics, regular content drops to hold on to mindshare, all evolutionary adaptations that make it harder for an individual player to spend more than the minimum amount of time with games that don't do that. And I'm so guilty of this, doing daily or weekly tasks to make progress bars go up in Final Fantasy XIV rather than engage in self-directed improvement in games like Tony Hawk. This is actually a real downside of my bingo board format, the need to keep moving. I've tried to work around the time crunch by spacing out the genres that I thought would be larger commitments, but that simply mitigates the issue. It doesn't fix it. These games are somewhat like a series of 2-week vacations in new cities. Sometimes you're eager to get back home, and sometimes you miss that new city even before you leave. On the subject of looking at this entire 25 genre project, this is the last video before June ends, so I think it's worth zooming out for a minute at this approximate halfway point and ask, was I satisfied with my time? Did I get what I wanted out of those experiences? Was I relieved to be done? Or am I dreaming of an opportunity to be pulled back in? So I'm going to do the YouTuber thing and put together a quick tier list. I'll rank the two Star Foxes separately, and I won't bother with the racing and puzzle games that I rejected. So no Forza Horizon 5, no Need for Speed Heat, no Snakebird, no Return of the Obra Dinn, and no Void Stranger. But that leaves 13 games, so let's get to it in play order. So, number 1, Gravity Circuit. Now, I tore through this game really quickly at the start of the year, and I know I could have enjoyed a full second or third run before stopping. I could definitely see myself revisiting it. Part of me thinks, like, before I get around to playing this, Gravity Circuit 2 is going to be out, so really, am I going to revisit the original Gravity Circuit? But like a month ago, I saw clips of somebody's speed run on Twitter, and I just had that immediate thought, oh my God, this looks so much fun. So I want to say, yeah, maybe someday we'll come back to the original Gravity Circuit. Number 2, Burnout Revenge. I absolutely loved this. And even though I am excited to try other racing games of the era, including Burnout 3, I think that the way Burnout Revenge lets you knock cars into other cars so the traffic becomes like a crowd control tool, that gives it, I think, a unique appeal. And I'm always going to have a place in my heart for this game. I love it. I would put this in the top category. I want to go back to this one for sure. For Animal Well, if you've been following along with the video series, you know that I've had trouble enjoying what I've been calling epiphany-based games, and my takeaway has been that I need to pull back from them. Maybe it's good that I played as much of Animal Well as I did to solidify that feeling, but just in terms of making the best use of my time, I kind of wish I'd bailed sooner and accepted that I was basically going to live life wearing a sandwich board that says I'm dumb and like dumb games. Anyhow, no offense, but marginally putting this in the should have stopped sooner category. Androdunos 2. This one's pretty simple. I just flat out loved it, loved the experience, the level design, and the stress of playing still live in my head. This is, so far, easily the most worthwhile gaming experience I've had this year, going straight to the top of I want to go back. Next Machina is unfortunately, I think, also pretty simple for me. I liked my time with it as far as that goes, but ultimately I'd rather play other kinds of games, shmups, rail shooters, etc. It's not bad, but I've definitely had my fill. Fantasian is definitely the title that I spent the most hours on. That's a JRPG for you. And even still, at the time I put it down, I was thinking about going back to try the post-game content or New Game Plus, but as time has passed, I've cooled on it a bit, and I think I am just done with it. I liked it, I recommended it, but I've had my fill. Rhythm Doctor. I'm going to keep this brief. I am definitely a hater. Should have stopped sooner. No Rest for the Wicked. Okay, last negative one in a row. In retrospect, this game wasted a lot of my time in ways that were unrewarding. I cannot imagine going back unless Moon Studios makes a whole alternate game mode that cuts out the resource grinds altogether. I can't see myself returning for the full release or really ever, and I have come away with the feeling that I should have stopped sooner. Hex Cells. Honestly, I have been sneaking in little plays of Hex Cells Infinite as a treat for myself, like it's my version of Wordle or other New York Times daily games. So I can't deny this is going straight and I want to go back. I have been going back. Okay, the Star Foxes. I have a lot of respect for Star Fox 64, but personally, I just didn't really like all range mode. I know I'm not going to go back to it, realistically. Zero, on the other hand, I think offers an experience that I haven't quite been able to get out of my head. I think it's still, this Next Machina and Rodunos, they're all kind of competing for the same kind of headspace and approach to playing games. And I don't like Zero as much as Androdunos. So there's a risk of it being preempted by other things. But I do think there's something to it. That gamepad gyro experience, it's great. Maybe someday. 428 Shibuya Scramble is kind of a weird one because I definitely am very positive on the experience, but pretty much all of its value is in its thriller narrative, which is disposable. Once you've experienced it, it's no longer a puzzle you can solve. So, even though it's, I think, durable as a memory and I would definitely recommend playing it, I'm not going back to it. I've had my fill. And finally, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. This is, of course, what prompted this whole tier list, so no real surprise where I'm putting it. I don't love the whole skate culture element, and I still don't know the names of most of the, grab and flip tricks, but it is such an overwhelming experience in my hands in a good way. I want to go back. But at least in 2026, I can't go back because Game and Episode 13 await. Up next is third person shooters, and I've played and enjoyed plenty of them over the years, from Gears to Resident Evil, Lost Planet, Remnant, Vanquish. But I want to try something more unique, so rather than try a safe pick like this year's Pragmata, I'm finally firing up a title in FromSoft's other signature long running franchise, Armored Core. I don't care about car culture or skate culture. But Square Enix's Front Mission franchise has primed me to enjoy near future forever war dystopian mech building gearhead culture, so I have relatively high hopes.